I now call to order the regular meeting of the Fairfield Planning Commission on October 23rd, 2024. Roll call. Mr. Feinstein, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Singh.
Here.
Commissioner Reese.
Present.
Commissioner Paul.
Present.
Commissioner Greavy is absent this evening. Commissioner Matthews.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Warblin.
Here.
And Chairperson Kennedy.
Present. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Singh, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, information on providing public comments. Persons wishing to address the Planning Commission on subjects not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, provided that no action may be taken on off-agenda items except as authorized by law. Off-agenda items from the public will be taken under consideration without discussion by the Commission and may be referred to staff. Comments will be accepted in person or via Zoom. And public comment instructions: to speak on an agenda item in person, please complete a speaker's card, give it to the secretary before the meeting or at the latest prior to the time for public comments on that item. When joining by Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone to request to speak. You will be called on by name and will have 3 minutes to speak. We'll now go on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
So there are no changes to the agenda, but I do just want to flag item B under schedule matters, proposed series of changes to the zoning ordinance. We do this typically once a year and come to you with a package of proposed amendments. We noticed that item for tonight, but we realize there's a few other amendments that staff wanted to put together for you. So we are going to be continuing that until December, I should look at the date here. We'll continue it to a
11th.
date certain, December 11th, 2024.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Wait, second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Now we will have the approval of the minutes for the regular Planning Commission meeting of October the 9th, 2024. Are there any changes to the minutes of October 9th?
Chair, I do have one correction. The minutes state that Commissioner Matthews attended remotely by Zoom under AB 2449. That should be corrected to state that he appeared remotely via Zoom under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And a second?
I second.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion passes. Okay, public comments. This is the time for the public to speak on items not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. I will now open the public comment period. I have one card. Mr. Norris Williams. You're welcome to come up to the microphone and speak. You'll have 3 minutes.
Well, I got more than one concern, but I really got a main concern right now. This agenda and what you call in your planning commission stuff, does this have anything to do with that land that's everybody been going, like, dealing with lately for the last few years?
Oh, whereabouts? Tonight, no. Tonight it has to do with stuff out in eastern Fairfield.
Okay, cause I got some land and they've been dealing with my land for the last like 15 years or so. But it's a house. I got a house carved into the planets of that land, and it's like 1 million acres long, maybe 1 million miles long. It's called, the name of it is Around the World, and I had it custom made. and they've been digging in it and digging in it. They done tore my house up, and I'd like to know who's gonna pay for it.
Yeah, that would be something you would go to City Hall, and they would talk to planning?
You can come, you can come to the second floor of City Hall, right across the way, tomorrow or during business hours, during the day, and we can chat with you at the planning counter about that.
Okay, well, can we like stop the work from going on? Cause somebody already done got killed in it from them digging it up, and I guess when I had my natural gas there and my piranhas in the pond and stuff. I don't know if that
Yeah,
caused
we can look
explosion.
into that and discuss it with you at the counter. It's probably a little more research we need to do that we can't really cover here during this meeting. But come to the second floor counter of City Hall during the workday, and we'll be happy to talk with you about that.
Okay. Right on, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We have no hands on Zoom. I will now close the public comment period. Scheduled matters, item number 7. The next item on the agenda is scheduled matters. For each agendized item, there will be a presentation by city staff. For items that involve application requests, I will ask the applicant to address the commission if they so desire. Then I will open the comment period via Zoom and in-house. I will close the comment period after all comments have been provided and after all our questions regarding the testimony during the comment period have been answered. After the comment period is closed, the commission will deliberate on the item and may have additional questions for staff. We cannot take additional testimony or questions from the public after the comment period is closed. Item A, Horizon Self-Storage Resolution PC 2024-09. The applicant is Sixto Rodriguez, and it's a public hearing on the request of Sixto Rodriguez to develop a 34,508 square foot self-storage facility, which includes 31,968 square feet of rentable storage space and 1,170 square feet of office space and 1,370 square feet of a live-in manager's unit on Horizon Drive. The project has been deemed categorically exempt under CEQA per section 15332, infill development projects. Planner, Yilin Wong.
Good evening, Chairperson and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Yilin Wong, and today I am presenting the project Horizon Self-Storage, a new self-storage facility on Horizon Drive. The project site is located around Horizon Drive, Airbase Parkway, and Claybank Road. It is bounded by an adjacent parcel with a church to the south, Horizon Drive to the north, a vacant parcel to the east, and an adjacent parcel with an auto repair shop to the west. Surrounding the project site are existing developments consisting of a mix of land uses, including commercial and church use. The project location is south of Horizon Drive, located between Horizon Drive and Western Street, adjacent to an existing service station. The site is currently vacant and 2 acres large. The parcels to the north, east, south, and west of the project site are zoned CS, or Service Commercial, and given the general plan land use designation as Service Commercial. The project parcel itself is zoned CS and given the general plan land use designation of Service Commercial. Areas with this general plan land use designation typically include commercial service and light industrial uses that may have impacts not suitable for other commercial districts. The project is consistent with this land use designation. The proposed project will include approximately 35,000 square feet of self-storage facility development, which includes approximately 32,000 square feet of rentable storage space, approximately 1,100 square feet of office space, and approximately 1,400 square feet of live-in manager's unit, and there are various landscape improvements throughout the site. The site will be accessed from Horizon Drive. A metal gate is located at the end of the parking lot to provide access to the storage buildings and trash enclosure and additional parking spots, and located within the internal storage facility area. For mini storage land uses, 2 parking stalls are required, plus 1 space per 10,000 square feet of floor area. The on-site office space requires 1 space per 200 square feet of floor area, and the live-in manager's unit requires 1 space per dwelling unit. A total of 6 parking spaces are required for this project, and the project meets this requirement by providing 7 on-site parking spaces. As proposed, the landscape plan for the project will include a mix of evergreen shrubs, grasses, and live ground cover. The project is conditioned to include 11 trees in the landscape strip abutting Horizon Drive to be in compliance with our municipal code, which requires 1 tree per 30 feet of street frontage. Some key development conditions include site improvements, and these include that the metal fence surrounding the property is conditioned to meet the 8-foot maximum height requirement and to be located out of the required street frontage setback as per municipal code. The stone column located at the center of the entry and exit gate driveway providing access to the storage unit area is conditioned to be removed to allow for proper fire truck turning and access. And as for landscape improvements, we mentioned previously, we have conditioned a total of 11 trees planted abutting Horizon Drive. And there's also a grant deed of easement condition from Public Works, as there are several existing easements located within the project parcel, and so we would need permission from these easement holders to develop in the area. Shown are the elevations for buildings A and B. Both of these buildings are most visible from the public right-of-way and face Horizon Drive. The storage facility utilizes varied building materials such as painted aluminum plate panels, tempered glazing, horizontal cement panels, and painted corrugated metal. The architectural components and color scheme of the facility are harmonious and meet the city's design objectives. Continue from the last slide, here are the building elevations for buildings G and H. These are more visible internally as they're within the internal storage building area. And again, buildings C, D, E, and F also within the internal storage area. This project is categorically exempt from CEQA under Section 15332 infill developments as it complies with the criteria listed. The site is an existing parcel, no more than 5 acres in area, and is surrounded by urban uses and can be adequately served by utilities and public services without significant impacts to the environment. Environmental assessments were conducted and demonstrated that the site has no habitat value for endangered, rare, or threatened species and would not result in negative impacts to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. With that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2024-09, granting approval of the development of Horizon Self-Storage. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant team is also here on Zoom. Our Public Works staff is also online and here in person to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for staff questions. Please hold your comments or deliberations until after the public hearing is closed. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff on this subject?
No questions, but that was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no others? Very good presentation. Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. I have no cards and no hands on Zoom. I will now close the public hearing and return to the commission for deliberations. Anybody have any? Go ahead, Tina.
I do have a question. Can you just speak a little bit more about the grant deed easement? Is that a foregone conclusion that that will happen? Can you just speak a little bit to that, please?
I will defer to our Public Works staff. I think Alvin Lay is here, and he can answer that question.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Alvin Lay, Senior Development Engineer for the City of Fairfield's Public Works Engineering Department. Hope you all are doing good today. So just want to provide a little bit of context for this parcel. Yulin, do you mind pulling up a site plan of the project for me? Thank you. So just to kind of give some context for what you're seeing on the screen here, towards the bottom side of this page, that's Horizon Drive, and towards the top side, that's the existing church property on the back. What exists on the site today is a 10-foot wide public utility easement along the Horizon Drive frontage. That's pretty typical. What also exists is I think it's a 15-foot wide water line easement on the right side of the site. And down the center of the site here is a 15-foot wide sewer easement. Both of these easements are privately owned and the responsibility of the church property towards the rear. As part of this project, Public Works staff considered the proposed project, but ultimately we've conditioned this project as it's kind of redundant, but we've conditioned this project to abandon these services and relocate these services so that they are directly serving the church property off of Western Street, which is the street that fronts the church property. And that's to, one, help minimize any potential future confusion that people may have about where are these pipes coming from and which properties do they serve. So while these easements do exist today, and while the church property does have a legal ownership of these easements, as a condition of this project, these two easements shall be quitclaimed and the service is relocated.
Thank you.
Do I have any other comments?
So this is not, first of all, I think this location, the project, I have no qualms about. My only concern is we're seeing a lot of self-storage, and I just worry that somehow we're going to get overbuilt with self-storage. If this were in a more residential or a different location, I might raise that concern to a higher level. Here, I really don't, but I just voice it as a general concern. But overall, I think the project's fine.
Thank you. Commissioner Paul?
Yes, I did have the same concern with Mr. Matthew said, because in the neighborhood I see there are quite a few mini storage places across the street, on the back, and on Horizon Drive and on the western lane. There are too many mini storages around. So what other kind of businesses can come in this area and service commercial? I was wondering.
Are you asking for, in general, what type of businesses are allowed in service commercial, or
Yes.
for mini storage specifically?
What other business can come in that area and service commercial?
I don't have the zoning ordinance in front of me.
Yeah, here, I can answer that, as well as just provide a little context to the issue of might we have too many, or is there a risk of too many of these kinds of uses? So as Yilin noted in her presentation, service commercial is intended for the kinds of commercial uses that really aren't what you would see in a more of a retail area, but have more of an industrial kind of character to them. So you can see contractors' yards, mini storage like we have here, small little workshop buildings. If you go out to this location, you'll see lots of small and medium-sized buildings with lots of roll-up doors. They're, each are individually leased. You can have some noise and potentially some vibration that you wouldn't normally see in a typical commercial area. This is sort of where you put your commercial uses that may have a few impacts that you don't necessarily want in a typical retail area. It's the kind of area that a mini storage use is appropriate within all of the range of our commercial zones or industrial zones. To get to the issue of potentially for having too many of these, what I'll note is that mini storage is allowed in not every commercial zone, but it's also allowed in our light industrial zone, or what we call our limited industrial zone. But what I'll note is that in every zoning district except this one, the service commercial zone, mini storage requires a use permit. In this zone, it's a permitted use, which means this is the one zoning district where in your purview, whether or not we have an overconcentration isn't something that you can base your decision on. You're really focused on design. In every one of the other zoning districts where you might get one of these, for example, along Lopes Road, we've approved mini storage. We've approved them in our limited industrial zones. There, mini storage requires a use permit, and what that means is one of the findings that you have to make is that there is not an overconcentration of the activity. So if this were in any other zone, that's where you really does fall into your purview to ask the question, perhaps we might have too many of these, and pose that back as a part of the analysis. But for this zone, this is the one zone where the city has said this is the area that we do want to see these, and they're just a permitted use.
So what I mean, we don't have much option because it says mini storage is permitted by right and this zone, right?
Correct. So your focus would be on the design issues, environmental review, things like that.
I do see some retailers on the crossing of Claybank and Horizon. There's some little convenience store, then there's a pizza place and a few things. That's what I was thinking. If we could have some more retailers coming to this area, so if we can. So then that was my observation. Yeah.
Thank you. Any others?
Yes, I just wanted to say that just 7 minutes from just 7 minute, well, I'd say a 7-minute drive from this project site is the train station specific plan, a development project that will eventually house at its completion around 19,000 people. And what's interesting about that project is that some of the self-storage facilities that are in that plan are earmarked for redevelopment. And what that means to me is that there is going to be a downward pressure on the supply of self-storage facilities in this area, but a increasing force for the demand of this type of product. And so what I want to avoid in the very near future is a condition where demand far exceeds the supply, which would then raise the prices for these types of units for residents. And so this project to me is a solution to that potential hurdle down the line. And so that's why, having heard the presentation, and thank you, that was great. That was a great presentation. I'm in favor of this project.
Okay, thank you. Any others? So my only comment is on the design, and I really like the design. I like the color scheme. It's much better than some of the newer ones that we've approved. So with that, do I have a motion to approve resolution PC 2024-09?
I move that we adopt resolution number PC 2024-9.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll go on to item B, which is being rescheduled. So we will now go on to item C, Cannon Station Development Agreement, Sixth Amendment. This is a request by Helen Andrews and David Stroud for a Sixth Amendment to the existing amended and restated development agreement between the City of Fairfield and Cannon Partners, LLC. Our presenter is Maylee Sheehan.
All right, good evening, commissioners and everyone joining us this evening. My name is Maylee Sheehan, and I'll be presenting the last item for the night. The amendment request before you this evening would affect Planning Area 6 within the train station specific plan. On the screen here, you have the specific plan area outlined in blue and planning area 6 outlined in red. And just as a quick reminder, the train station specific plan was adopted by council in 2011. It covers almost 3,000 acres in the northeast area of Fairfield. The plan provides a broad framework for new parks, open space, and residential, commercial, and industrial development. All of that is centered around the new Capitol Corridor train station at the southeast corner of Peabody Road and Vanden Road, which is outlined in yellow. The specific plan does provide that broad framework, but of course it defers more detailed land planning to each of the planning areas. You will see that there are 10 planning areas identified on the screen. So shortly after the specific plan was adopted, the City Council entered into a development agreement that focused on planning areas 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The applicant tonight, Cannon Partners LLC, is the master developer for the industrial area, which is planning area 6, or you'll hear me say PA 6. Looking at the proposed amendment, it's important to note that the city conducted fee studies in 2013. The studies evaluated the cost of infrastructure required to serve all the new development, and it set development impact fees to be collected at the time of building permit issuance. In 2022, the city updated those fee studies and subsequently updated the development impact fees as well. The DA currently references the 2013 studies, and so a portion of the amendment tonight is simply to update everywhere it says 2013 to the current 2022 studies. The meatier aspect of the amendment request tonight is to update the definition for what is known as equivalent dwelling unit, or an EDU. As defined, an EDU is a means to measure transportation impacts of development. The EDU in the development agreement is calculated by totaling 3 of the city's transportation development impact fees under the low density and single family purview. So regardless if the project is residential, commercial, or industrial, we're looking at those 3 fees under a low density single family rate. And then what the DA definition does, it creates an EDU factor, or a weighted ratio, for commercial and industrial. So if it's not a residential project, we wanted to create a ratio that was more appropriate for those other developments. Currently, the DA has industrial development slated for 0.04 for every 1,000 square feet of development. So when you do the math calculation, that turns out to be approximately $1 per square foot. What the applicant is proposing tonight is to amend the industrial EDU factor from that 0.04 to 0.134, or approximately $4 a square foot. So they would be increasing the rate, and that is in order to obtain the development impact fees necessary to construct the infrastructure out there at a faster pace. So on this slide here, I just have a breakdown of that math. We don't need to get too deep into the nitty-gritties, but I just wanted to show you those 3 impact fees totaled together is about $30,000. That would be 1 EDU equivalent. If you multiply that by the proposed 0.134, it gives you about $4,000 per 1,000 square foot, or the $4 per square foot. So wrapping up the analysis for your consideration, the land use designation for planning area 6, both in the zoning map and the general plan, is limited industrial. And from an environmental perspective, in 2011, when we adopted the specific plan, we also certified an environmental impact report, which evaluated all of the impacts that are under the scope of the development agreement. The amendments proposed tonight would not add any additional impacts to those that were previously identified, and therefore we can rely on that EIR. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2024-11 to recommend City Council approve the 6th amendment. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And of course, we have the wonderful Alvin Lay from Public Works to address any Public Works items you might also have.
Thank you, Maylee. Now it's time for staff questions. And again, please hold your comments or deliberations on the item until after the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, do you have any comments on this? Commissioner Matthews?
So is the purpose for the city having the limit a concern that developers will be too rapacious, which they never are, and drive up fees that then will price homes out of the reach of most folks? Is that the underlying concern for why there's a limit? I mean, I guess my question really is, why do we have a limit?
A limit on the industrial EDU impact? I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I follow.
Well, on the impact fees, the city has established this limit, and now we're talking about raising it, right?
Sure. So for, in regards to your question, focusing on residential, the residential fees don't have a limit. The residential fees are whatever the current development impact fees are at the time, so whatever they are today. The development agreement does establish limitations for the commercial and industrial development, and that is based on negotiations that the city had with the developer back in 2013 and then now today.
And so my fundamental question is, why is that a concern of the city to have a limit?
So through the development agreement, it provides an opportunity for the city and the developer to create terms and obligations under a different lens than what typically would occur elsewhere within the city. So in other locations of the city, the industrial and commercial developments will be paying whatever the current impact fees are. In this particular area, it was to the benefit of the city and the developer to arrive at this agreed upon rate.
And I'll add to that, and just saying, when the city negotiates a development agreement with a developer, we work to develop a package of agreements. There's a whole series of points. As we, the city and the developer, weigh the relative costs and benefits of all of that, that can help us determine, as we're looking at the fee component, and that's the subject here. In the city's ideal, we would be collecting the maximum amount of fees that our impact fees are set at. But sometimes as you weigh that, the developer will say, okay, we will agree to certain aspects of this agreement that the city wants, but in exchange, we want some protections that the fees aren't going to be way up here, that they're going to be a bit lower. And so that 0.4 essentially is a fee that is less than our adopted fees for industrial development. Right now, without this change, development out in Planning Area 6 would pay less than a typical industrial project. So in this case, it's a benefit to the developer. As a part of all this discussion, it's clear that $1 per square foot isn't enough to be able to build the infrastructure. Everybody on both sides has agreed to that. And so what we've come back with is a revised number that the developer would agree to help be able to pay for enough of that infrastructure.
All right.
Any other questions?
What are the current fees that are being charged? I'm just curious.
Unfortunately, I don't have that off the top of my head or at my fingertips, but I am more than happy to follow up with you with the fee schedule, the current adopted fee schedule. I apologize, I don't have it.
Yeah, and there's somewhere in the $6 to $8 a square foot range. So this is still less than what other industrial developers would pay, but it's, as you can see, it's nearly 4 times more than what the current agreement is. Yeah, but the fact that the industrial development out there would pay less than others does reflect that there's a larger package as a part of this development agreement that are benefits to the city, including having the developers actually build the roads rather than the city having to take responsibility for building them. The responsibility under the development agreement is for the developers to build that.
Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, Suzu Valley Parkway was $6 a square foot? That was the number they always talked about.
Yeah, that sounds about
So,
right, yeah.
and that was, what, 10 years ago at least, when that was done? So, okay, any other questions?
Yes, just had a question. So I believe that the previous equivalent dwelling unit was 0.04 or 0.4, and that was established in 2013, right?
That is correct.
And so for 11 years, there has been no change to that fee, but the cost to create and maintain that transportation infrastructure has gone up. And so I also saw that there was a 2022 Nexus fee study, and that this amendment would create more alignment with the current fees and the fees from 2022. And so I am in agreement of this. This is good.
Okay, no more questions? I will open the public hearing. I have one speaker card, David Stroud.
Hello, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is David Stroud. I'm one of the members of the ownership group that owns this industrial project out in the Train Station Pacific Plan called Cannon Partners. We are here to say that these agreements tonight accurately reflect the conversations we've had with Maylee and the rest of the staff in regards to this amendment, the amendment to the DA. We recognized, not too long ago actually, but we recognized that the fee that we were agreeing to pay previously was not going to be sufficient in order to build the roadways out there that need to access that area. As you know, if you've driven out there from Vanden Road, it's just basically, there is no road. There's Old Cannon Road, but this new road is going to be needed in order for this development to happen. Of course, if the development happens, then it will generate quite a bit of new revenue for the city, which is good for everybody and will help pay for all this infrastructure. We appreciate if you would approve this recommendation tonight to move to the City Council for their approval of this amendment to the Sixth Amendment to the Development Agreement to raise the fee. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We have no hands online. Would staff like to respond to any of the issues raised by the comment? Okay. I will now close the public hearing and return it to commission for their deliberations. Do you have any additional comments at this time? See none. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution PC 2024-11?
I will make a motion to approve Planning Commission 2024-09.
11.
Yes, 011.
1-1.
Yes, 11.
PC 2024-11.
That one.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any no votes? Seeing none? Passes. Congratulations. Thank you. We will now go on to item number 8, information and communications. Mr. Feinstein, do you have any comments for the director's report?
Yeah, 3 items. One just follows up on a comment I'd given to you at your last meeting, and that is that on the 6th of November, 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be holding a special meeting for the Planning Commission to consider making a recommendation to the City Council regarding the general plan update, climate action plan, and the environmental impact report that goes along with that. We will be publishing those 3 documents tomorrow. And so I will send a link to each of you so that you have a copy of that. The documents, the general plan update and the climate action plan, which are the substantive items. The EIR is an analysis document evaluating the impacts, but the substantive documents, the general plan update and the climate action plan, you already looked at a draft of that in July. You, earlier in May, you reviewed the policies. So at this point, most of what you're seeing will be very familiar to you. There are some minor changes that have been made in response to comments, but the vast majority of those two documents will be exactly what you saw in July. Please do, once you get that link, start taking a look at those two documents as well as the final EIR, which is a response to comments we received on the draft EIR, as well as some changes that were made in response to that as well. We are looking to get to you your staff report for the 6th earlier than normal. Usually you get it Thursday or Friday. We're going to try to get it to you very early next week. Won't be a lengthy staff report because we've gone over many of these items multiple times over the last 4 years, but you'll get that early. So, okay. Second, we will be having that special meeting. We don't have any other items that are tracking specifically for November, so most likely you won't have a meeting the following week. And as always, we work to not have a meeting the night before Thanksgiving. Your fourth Wednesday always falls the night before Thanksgiving. So that'll be your big item for November. We at least have the continued zoning item for December. There may be some other items coming your way. And finally, just a reminder for the commission, last meeting, Commissioner Matthews participated remotely. That's always an option for you to do that, with the one caveat that you need to let us know early enough so that we can publish at least 72 hours in advance of the meeting an agenda that mentions that you're going to be participating remotely and includes the address from which you're going to be participating. So just keep in mind, if you do want to participate remotely, make sure that we hear probably like the Wednesday before, because we publish that agenda Thursday or Friday. So just send a message to me or to Cindy Garcia, our admin, letting us know that you want to participate remotely. We'll make sure to put that on the agenda. So just a reminder, Commissioner Greavy would have liked to have participated remotely tonight, but we weren't able to get that on there in time. So with that concludes my comments.
Great. Any commissioner comments tonight? I just have two quick ones. Some of us attended Aunt Bill's grand opening downtown, Soul Food. It's in the old Shea Soul restaurant, and they had a very robust grand opening, so that was awesome. And that's all I have. So with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.